I have always believed that a marriage isn't built on moments of passion, but on the small, quiet things. The ordinary days that blend into weeks, into years. The way a routine forms without us ever meaning for it to, the way Daniel always leaves his coffee cup by the sink for me to find in the morning, the way he always sighs when he sits down after a long day, the way he hums tunelessly when he showers. There is a comfort in these things. A steady, predictable rhythm that our lives move to, like a song we both know by heart. Some people crave excitement, but I have always found peace in familiarity. I have never needed grand gestures or breathless declarations. I have only ever wanted this: a home, a husband who is good and kind, a life that is safe. And that is exactly what I have. Daniel is a good man. He has never raised his voice at me. He is dependable, patient, the kind of man people trust without question. When we first met, I was drawn to his quiet steadiness, the way he never rushed, never wavered. I remember thinking that being with him was like stepping into calm water after a lifetime of waves. And yet, in the stillness of our life together, there are nights when I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling something shift inside me. It isn't unhappiness, at least, I don't think it is. It's something smaller, quieter. A whisper of restlessness. A question I can't quite put into words. I tell myself it's normal. Time does this to love, doesn't it? The brightness of something new fades, but that doesn't mean it disappears. Love changes shape, settles into something softer. Something warm, something safe. But sometimes, I wonder, should love feel like this? I don't dare say the words aloud. Not even to myself. Because what could be missing, really? We have been together for 12 years. We have built a life that is solid and good. And if, in the quiet moments, I sometimes feel the weight of something unnamed pressing against me, I push it aside. After all, I have everything I ever wanted. Don't I? Some mornings, I wake up before Daniel. The room is still dark, the edges of the curtains just beginning to glow with the first hints of daylight. I listen to the sound of his breathing, slow and steady beside me, the same rhythm I have known for years. His arm sometimes drapes over my waist in his sleep, heavy and warm, and I stay still, watching the ceiling, my mind already awake. I don't know when I started doing this, waking up early, lingering in the quiet before the day begins. It isn't intentional. It's just something that happens, as if my body knows there is something in the silence that I need to sit with. When Daniel stirs, I close my eyes for a moment, pretending I'm still asleep. He shifts, exhales, and then, in his usual way, he reaches for me. A light touch on my back. A press of his lips against my shoulder, absent-minded, affectionate. A gesture born from years of habit. I roll toward him, offering a small smile. He smiles back. Morning, he murmurs, his voice thick with sleep. Morning. He stretches, then swings his legs off the bed, rubbing his face before heading to the bathroom. I hear the familiar sounds, the water running, the medicine cabinet opening, the soft creak of the floorboards beneath his feet. Every movement is familiar, as if I have memorized them over the years. And maybe I have. By the time I get up, he's already downstairs, pouring coffee into his favorite mug. I follow the scent into the kitchen, my feet bare against the cool tile. "Did you sleep well?" he asks, handing me a cup. "Yeah," I lie. I sip my coffee, feeling the warmth of it spread through me. The morning sun filters through the window, casting soft golden light over everything. It's peaceful, the way it always is. The way it has been for years. We sit at the table together, eating in comfortable silence. Daniel glances at his phone between bites, checking emails, responding to messages. I watch him, the way his brow furrows slightly when he concentrates, the way his fingers tap idly against the table. He is the same as he has always been. Constant. Dependable. And yet, as I sit across from him, something flickers inside me, something I cannot name. It is not unhappiness, not exactly. It is something quieter. A whisper. A thought that vanishes before I can catch hold of it. I shake it off. Today is just another ordinary day. And I have no reason to want anything else. The day unfolds as it always does. After breakfast, Daniel leaves for work. He kisses me on the cheek before he goes, the way he always has. A familiar press of lips, warm but fleeting, as if he is already thinking about the day ahead. I linger at the door for a moment after he's gone, watching his car disappear down the street before turning back into the quiet house. I have never minded solitude. In fact, I used to cherish these moments, when the house was mine alone, when I could move through it without speaking, without thinking, simply existing in the silence. But lately, the silence feels heavier. I move through the motions of my morning, washing the dishes, straightening the living room, responding to a few emails. These are the same tasks I have done every day for years, and yet, today, they feel different. Or maybe I am different. At noon, I step outside for fresh air. The sun is high, the breeze gentle. I walk through the neighborhood, past the same houses, the same neatly trimmed lawns, the same winding sidewalks I have known for so long. I wonder, briefly, if this is what life is supposed to feel like. Not bad, not empty, just still. A life well lived, in the way that people expect it to be. A marriage that is strong, a home that is warm, a routine that is steady. Shouldn't that be enough? I pause by the park, watching a couple sitting on a bench. They are young, mid-20s, maybe, laughing about something, their bodies turned toward each other as if nothing else in the world exists. Their hands brush, their eyes linger, and I feel something in my chest tighten. I used to look at Daniel like that. He used to look at me like that. I remind myself that love changes with time. That passion is fleeting, but what remains, commitment, trust, comfort, is what truly matters. I remind myself that I am lucky. I turn away from the couple and start walking home. But even as I do, I can't shake the feeling that something inside me is shifting. Something I do not yet understand. The afternoon passes in a blur of small, forgettable moments, laundry tumbling in the dryer, the soft hum of the radio playing in the background, the rhythmic chopping of vegetables as I prepare dinner. The kind of day that leaves no imprint, one that blends seamlessly into the ones before it. By the time Daniel returns home, the house is warm with the scent of food, the table set just as it always is. He steps inside, loosening his tie, sighing in that way he does after a long day. I watch him from the kitchen, noting how familiar the sight of him is, his shoulders slightly hunched, his fingers running through his hair, his expression thoughtful but unreadable. He smiles when he sees me. Smells good. Thanks, I say, offering a small smile in return. We sit down to eat, the conversation easy but routine, how his day went, what emails he had to answer, the small office dramas that never seem to change. I nod at the right moments, ask the right questions. At some point, he glances at his phone, responding to a message while I pick at my plate. It's nothing unusual. Just another evening, another meal shared in quiet understanding. And yet, there is something in the air tonight. A feeling I can't quite put into words. I wonder if he feels it too. After dinner, Daniel settles onto the couch with his laptop, catching up on work. I join him, curling up on the opposite end with a book, though my eyes skim the pages without really reading. The house is quiet except for the occasional tap of his fingers on the keyboard. And in that silence, I feel it again, the weight of something missing. I swallow it down, pushing the thought aside. Then, almost without thinking, I check my phone. There's a message. A name I haven't seen in a long time. My heart stumbles. I hesitate, my finger hovering over the screen. And then, before I can talk myself out of it, I open it. I stare at the screen, my breath shallow. The message is short, just a few words, but they seem to press against my chest, making it suddenly difficult to breathe. It's been a long time. I hope you're doing well. A simple message. Polite. Harmless. And yet, my hands feel unsteady as I grip the phone. The name above the message stirs something deep within me. Ethan. I haven't spoken to him in years. Not since before Daniel and I were married. Not since the life I have now was just an idea on the horizon. For a moment, I do nothing. I tell myself to put the phone down, to forget I ever saw it. There is no reason to respond. No reason to stir up something that should remain in the past. And yet, my thumb moves before I can stop it. It has been. I'm doing well, hope you are too. I hit send. The moment the message disappears, my stomach tightens. What am I doing? This is nothing. Just an old friend reaching out, a brief moment of nostalgia. There's nothing wrong with that. But as I sit there, waiting, though I tell myself I am not, I feel the flicker of something I haven't felt in a long time. And when the reply comes almost immediately, a slow warmth spreads through me. Across the room, Daniel exhales, rubbing his temples as he scrolls through something on his laptop. I watch him for a moment, my heart still unsteady. And then, quietly, I turn my phone over, screen down, as if that will silence whatever has just begun. But the feeling is still there. A whisper of something waking up inside me. Something I am not sure I want to name. I don't reply again that night. I tell myself the conversation is over before it even begins. Just a polite exchange. Nothing more. But the next morning, I wake up with an uneasiness that lingers beneath my skin. The first thing I do, before even getting out of bed, is glance at my phone. Another message. It's good to hear from you. How's life treating you? It's simple, friendly. But something about it feels different from the dozens of casual conversations I have every day. For a long time, I just stare at the screen. Daniel is already downstairs. I can hear the faint sounds of him moving through the kitchen, the quiet clinking of a spoon against his coffee mug. He has no idea that just a few feet away, I am sitting here, hesitating, my heart betraying me in a way I don't yet fully understand. I could ignore it. I could close this door before it ever opens. But I don't. Life is steady. I pause, staring at the words before I add, almost without thinking. What about you? I send it before I can change my mind. And then I get out of bed, trying to shake the uneasiness from my limbs as I head downstairs. Daniel looks up from his laptop as I enter the kitchen. Morning, he says, offering me a small, easy smile. Morning, I reply, forcing myself to sound normal. He takes a sip of his coffee, barely noticing the way I hesitate, before sitting across from him. His focus is already elsewhere, his emails, his schedule for the day. This is how our mornings always go. Comfortable. Predictable. I reach for my own coffee, wrapping my fingers around the warmth of the mug, but I feel different today. As if something invisible has shifted. It's a strange thing, how quickly the mind can wander, how easily a single message can feel like a ripple disturbing the still surface of my life. Daniel is here, solid and steady, the man I chose. And yet, my mind is already somewhere else. Waiting for a reply. The day moves forward, but I feel like I'm floating through it, only half present. My body is here, folding laundry, answering emails, going through the same motions as always, but my mind drifts elsewhere. I don't check my phone. Not at first. I tell myself that I don't care whether Ethan has replied. That it doesn't matter. But by midday, the pull is too strong. I pick up my phone, my fingers unsteady. There it is. Steady? That sounds safe. Life's been a bit of everything for me. I travel a lot now. I guess I never quite settled. I exhale slowly, reading the words over again. There is something about them, something between the lines, that I can feel but can't name. I hesitate, then type. Settling isn't always a bad thing. A pause. Then, before I can stop myself. Where have you been traveling? I shouldn't be doing this. I know that. But the words are already sent. Minutes later, he replies. Everywhere. I just got back from Spain. You would have loved it, little cafes tucked away in the alleys, music spilling into the streets at night. The kind of place that makes you feel alive. Alive. The word lingers. I picture it, the winding streets, the hum of a city that never truly sleeps, the feeling of losing yourself in something new. For a moment, I let myself wonder. When was the last time I felt that way? Daniel comes home late that evening. I barely notice the time slipping away, lost in an exchange that should mean nothing but somehow feels like everything. He steps inside, setting his bag down by the door. Long day, he sighs, running a hand through his hair. I snap my phone screen off and place it face down on the table. He kisses my forehead, a brief, familiar press of lips. You okay? I nod quickly. Yeah. Just tired. He doesn't question it. He just squeezes my shoulder gently and heads upstairs to change. I watch him go, my heart pulling in two directions. I love my husband. I love the life we've built. So why does this feel like the start of something I won't be able to undo? I tell myself I'll stop. I wake up the next morning with a clear decision, no more messages, no more indulging in whatever this is. Ethan belongs to my past. My life is here, with Daniel. Safe. Steady. Loved. But by mid-afternoon, my resolve has already begun to crack. My phone sits beside me on the kitchen counter. I glance at it too often, my fingers twitching with the urge to check. When I finally give in and turn it over, I see another message waiting. You should have been there. I think you would have loved it. I shouldn't answer. But I do. Maybe in another life. The words slip from me too easily. As soon as I send them, my pulse quickens. I don't know why I said that. Ethan responds almost instantly. Another life? Who says this one is over? The breath catches in my throat. This is dangerous. I know it. And yet, something inside me shifts at his words. A quiet thrill. A feeling I shouldn't be chasing. Before I can think too much, I set my phone aside and move to the sink, letting my hands busy themselves with the dishes. Warm water runs over my skin, but my mind isn't here. It's with Ethan. With the idea of something more, something different. The thought lingers even as I hear the front door open. Daniel steps inside, loosening his tie as he always does. Hey, he says, setting his bag down. Hey, I echo. He crosses the room, leaning in to kiss my cheek, but for the first time in years, I find myself shifting away, just slightly. Not enough for him to notice. But enough for me to feel it. He doesn't say anything. I force a smile and ask, "How was your day?" He exhales, rubbing the back of his neck. Exhausting. Meetings all day. He keeps talking, but I only half listen. Guilt creeps into my chest, but it isn't enough to drown out the lingering warmth of the conversation I shouldn't have had. As Daniel settles onto the couch with his laptop, I sit across from him, my phone hidden beneath a pillow. The room is quiet, filled only with the occasional sound of him typing. I could stop this now. I should. But I already know I won't. Months have passed. In the days that followed, there was an unspoken shift between Daniel and me, between my heart and my mind. The messages with Ethan tapered off, then stopped entirely. I told myself it was over, that I had made the right choice. But something inside me had already changed. I don't know when the line between what was real and what wasn't blurred, but it did. The small gestures of love, those same ones that once felt like the foundation of our life, began to feel like echoes, distant and muted. They were still there, still familiar, but their warmth had begun to fade. And I, too, had started to feel distant. Not from Daniel, exactly, but from the life we had built together. I don't regret the choice I made to stay, to choose the life I have. But sometimes, in the silence of the night, I wonder if I made the right one. Ethan never reached out again. The door I had opened in a moment of curiosity was quietly closed. There was no dramatic ending, no confrontation, no sudden revelations. It simply faded into the past, like a dream you wake up from, unsure of the details, but knowing it's no longer part of your waking world. But the feeling of being alive, that thing Ethan spoke of so easily, has lingered. It exists in small moments. In the way the wind feels when it brushes against your skin on a quiet evening, or in the way your heart races when a stranger catches your eye. It exists in the space between the ordinary moments, in the places where you think no one is watching. I watch Daniel now, and I can still see the man I chose, the man I love. His kindness is still the same, his steadiness the anchor I've always trusted. But a part of me is aware, constantly, of how much time has passed. Of the things we've lost, without even realizing it. I never found the answer to the question that began all of this, the one I couldn't name. But I've learned that sometimes, no answer comes. Sometimes, you simply live with the question, and let it change you, quietly, without fanfare. And in the silence, you wait. For something. For someone. For the choice that will define the rest of your days.